A terrible end to Easter Sunday. A 14-year-old boy was riding his bike along Goldingham Street at Tinambit when he was hit by a car. It's believed he wasn't wearing a helmet.
He's in a critical condition and we hope he pulls through for the sake of the family and for the driver involved.
The female driver was taken for mandatory blood and urine testing. No charges have been laid.
Parents need to encourage their children to wear a helmet. It could be the difference between life and death.
Today, on the final day of Operation Tortoise, police maintained a heavy presence on Hunter roads. While the weather was better, an alarming trend continued. By 3 this afternoon, 210 drivers had been tested for drugs at the Adamstown random testing site, with 40 returning positive readings.
It's greatly concerning. As we said, it is an emerging trend. As we introduce more drug testing, those detections are coming up.
Traffic moved freely at Hexham for much of the day, with people hitting the road early to avoid the afternoon rush, which included a 16-kilometre queue on the M1 between Morisset and Warnervale.
Traffic's been great. It's been a really nice ride on the freeway.
So far so good. We've only been driving for 2 hours, so I've just stopped for a cuppa.
And the secret to a good trip?
Just remember to stick to the speed limit and stay left, and everyone will be happy and safe. Stop, revive, and we'll all survive.
Vivian von Drainen, NBN News.
It's early on Good Friday morning. A black Mitsubishi Magna with a trailer attached pulls up outside Wai Point Marina. A man jumps out of the passenger seat, his face uncovered. He hops in the driver's side, seemingly unaware a CCTV camera is filming his every move. After backing the trailer onto the driveway, he gets out again. This time, so does his accomplice. Brazenly, they pick up the Yamaha motorbike and, struggling under its weight, toss it in the tray before making a getaway. The bike's owner, who's asked not to be named, says he's shocked.
Like that's my savings I put into that bike and it's just gone. So I've lost $12,000 and I'm not getting it back.
Footage of the theft has been posted online. Police are investigating, the bandits not only giving away their identities, but the car's number plate.
It's under investigation and we anticipate some fairly good results in the future.
It's only a matter of time before we get all the information on these guys and hopefully the police catch them and maybe get my bike back.
It's prompted a reminder not to leave valuables unsecured, particularly during the holidays.
Not only do we have our residents who leave the area, we have people coming into the area.
Amanda Douglas, NBN News.
An East Coast low rained on Easter's parade. More than 110 millimetres fell across parts of the Hunter, day one of the Lake Macquarie Classic Boat Fest, among the casualties. And if this was soggy Saturday at Merriweather Baths, today started out as Magnificent Monday. Mother Nature turned on a clear, crisp morning, followed by a warmer than average April day.
It's a great day to get out and enjoy the sunshine.
Wonderful. It's a beautiful day and a beautiful spot. Couldn't ask for anything better. I've had a swim and the water is divine.
Hundreds headed for the beach or a family picnic in the park, while coastal promenades were lined with people walking off their Easter treats.
Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't well yesterday. Too much chocolate. A lot of people doing a lot of running this morning.
And the Merriweather Steps got a workout.
So many chocolate eggs, not cross ones. Too many.
Holidaymakers who had been cooped up inside finally enjoyed the break.
No, beautiful. No, I love the beaches. We miss the beaches at Canberra.
It was an amazing contrast. It is that classic autumn seesaw event that can occur. You got that cloud, the rain, the wet weather, the cold, and then it warms back up, and it's not over yet because next up we've got a polar blast coming through and it's going to be very cold.
Before the storm clouds moved back in, we had perfect conditions too for those on the water, a far cry from the soaking rain.
The Knights lost their first game on Saturday. Now they're losing key players. Today, coach Rick Stone confirmed Beau Scott is facing a stint on the sideline, the result of ligament damage to his ankle.
He'll be in a boot, I'd say, for possibly a week or even two, and then obviously how he responds to treatment after that will determine when he gets back on the field.
So 2 weeks probably the best case scenario?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, absolutely.
Meanwhile, Tarek Sims avoided a charge for this hit on Saturday night. Overall, Stone was pleased with Sims' performance, but amidst the frustration over the challenge that came in his first game for the club after serving a suspension from last season.
He's got to be playing with controlled aggression. There's no doubt that that's part of his makeup, and that's one of the reasons sort of we got him to the club. But you can't have some of your best players sitting out all the time.
In a positive for Newcastle, Robbie Rockout today ran for the first time since receiving treatment for a chronic back injury. Depending on how he goes this week, he may even play in Friday's clash with the Sharks.
He's been pretty pleased with the latest quarter zone and happy with the results he's been getting, and he's not receiving any more discomfort than he was before.
Samuel Jordan, NBN News.
These are the signs the New South Wales Business Chamber used over Easter in a campaign against penalty rates, clearly stating the wage cost of public holidays is too high. But according to the trade union,
unfortunately, they're out of step. 77% of Australians believe that penalty rates are appropriate compensation for unsociable hours.
While busy today for Newcastle businesses that displayed the signs on their closed doors, there's been backlash. Neil Slater from Scratchley's declined to comment, reluctant to draw more attention to the issue after being targeted on social media by people far from supportive of his decision to close.
We believe that the economic evidence just does not stack up in terms of cutting penalty rates.
Will Creedon from Tourism Hunter says something needs to change to ensure all businesses stay open during what should be one of the busiest times of the year.
It's obviously not working, and we need to rationally sit down, away from the emotion, and look at how we can do it better.
The New South Wales Business Chamber says sensible penalty rates should be paid for certain times, but argues it's ridiculous that rates are now so high that businesses are forced to close. Vivian von Drainen, NBN News. Demand for granny flats is up, but it's not grandparents driving it.
I would say probably 90% of our inquiries are from property investors who are looking to increase the yield on their property.
2 years ago, Alex Mitchell and his business partner started a granny flat building business. Now they're getting up to 100 inquiries a month. They say a typical unit costs about $110,000 to build and rents for about $300 a week.
The increase has been dramatic, particularly I think even in the last 6 months we've really seen a very large increase.
But while you don't need council approval to build one, it still comes with development fees. 75-year-old Bob Wells was shocked to learn he's looking at council costs of up to $11,000 to build a granny flat at the back of his daughter's house at Swansea.
I spoke to the environmental officer and she said, it's for things like parks, for the expansion of the town or the city.
It doesn't seem to be a deterrent. Like Macquarie Council figures show in the 2009 to 2010 financial year, 14 granny flats were built. Last financial year, it was 47.
This is something that just provides a really easy mechanism and way for people to make the most use of their land.
Vivian von Drainen, NBN News.
It's the day two big tops became one. Hudson's Family Circus has now officially thrown its hat into the ring with the Moscow Circus, an organisation that's entertained more than 6 million Australians.
Certainly a different blend to put the two shows together. Obviously the focus is on the Russian content.
The plan is to play something like 80 locations over a 3-year period.
Joining forces with promoter Michael Edgley was an easy option.
It certainly has got a lot harder. Councils are more demanding. OH&S is a big thing, and just the equipment that we use now too. I mean, we've got bigger tents and they're more high tech.
For the next fortnight, Newcastle will play an important role in the transition as both sets of performers fine-tune their acts before one big show hits the road.
Some of the acts have already arrived and they're working with Shane's show here in Newcastle during the season, a wonderful big Russian troupe from Moscow.
The new venture will visit more regional areas.
Making it accessible to people that wouldn't normally get to see it if it was just in the big city.
Circus is something for the whole family and it caters to people of all ages.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
Back on the training paddock ahead of a trip to Cronulla, the Knights' Jeremy Smith gave a frank assessment of the performance against the Dragons.
Conditions probably didn't help, but credit to the Dragons. They defended really well and sort of shut us out. We didn't really throw too much at them either, so all in all, it was just one of those days.
Bo Scott's ankle injury has forced Rick Stone to shuffle the pack.
Yeah, he's a massive loss. He's everyone sees what he does on the field, and I love playing beside him.
Yeah, no, he'd be a big loss. He's one of our team leaders, so to lose a player like him will be tough. So hopefully, quick recovery for him and he'll be back.
In positive news, brothers Tarek and Corbin Sims will play alongside each other in red and blue for the first time.
Yeah, they tear into each other at training, so it's good to watch, but we'll see what happens.
The Sharks are coming off a confidence-boosting win over the Roosters, but don't expect centre Joey Leilua to be overawed by that performance.
No, I don't watch any footy, personally. I don't like watching footy at all. I just like doing my job and doing what I have to do.
Ben Barber's return from a 2-week suspension also doesn't faze the Newcastle lineup.
I don't care, really. If he's there, he's there. I'll have to tackle him.
But there's at least one Shark that has the Knights wary.
They've got a young player that's been covering it up. I think it was Jack Bird, is it? Jack Bird, yeah. So we've got to watch him. It'll be good to play against him, show him how first grade he's really like.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News. Even before full-time against Perth, a selection of Jets fans were keen to voice their frustration at coach Phil Stubbins. The sign read, "Enough failure, lies, arrogance. 10,000 demand the Muppet gone."
Oh, the fans are obviously disgruntled and disappointed. I don't think that I'm against anyone venting. They're entitled to do what, they feel is right from their point of view. It's not really in support of the club.
On the field, it was a case of deja vu. Newcastle had plenty of near misses. Despite its own dramas, it was Perth who grabbed the glory, 2 goals in the second half sealing the 3 points. Next up, the Jets fly to Melbourne to face the Victory on Friday, a trip that has yielded success for Newcastle in the past.
If we can get a win, it's going to cause a bit of drama up the top of the table, and it gives us something to celebrate as well.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
They became household names on the block, and it seems Brad and Lara have never been forgotten.
Yeah, you walk down the streets or you're at the shops and people still ask for photos, which is lovely. But I think if you're in a different city, it might be completely different.
The block was a great experience for us, but now we've sort of moved on to the next phase of our life.
That consists of renovating this 77-year-old pub in Maryville, one of the many inner-city suburbs that's seeing plenty of change right now.
It was built in the 1930s, so there's a fine line between us trying to make it new and modern and freshen it up, but obviously keep its history.
The venture has posed a few new challenges.
Obviously you need to keep the pub open if you possibly can, so every time we do a reno we need to quickly try and get the place cleaned up to open up the next day for trade.
And if you think one reno is enough, try 2.
Gluttons for punishment, but yeah, we relocated a house from Merewether and that's sort of 3/4 finished now, but I'm trying to divide my time between the house and the pub.
Getting back on the netball court has been Lara's way of getting her mind off the job.
I had a couple of years off and I'm back playing with the girls that I've played with for the last few years.
Haven't been to watch Lara's 8th comeback yet, but I'm sure I'll get in there and see a few games.
Michael Kane, NBN News. It was the discovery of skeletal remains of a dog on this property at Coonbar, which has local greyhound authorities fuming.
We're not going to stand for it, and I think it's time to clean house.
The claims of a mass greyhound gravesite follow the live baiting investigation, which has seen big names in the industry caught out. After an anonymous tip-off early last year, there's been 3 separate investigations undertaken at the Coonbar trial track site by the RSPCA, Greyhounds New South Wales, and another by the former New South Wales Police Deputy Commissioner, David Madden. The owner of the property tells me this is the area where the mass greyhound grave lies. Greyhound New South Wales visited the site 14 months ago, but have yet to return. It's frustrated the owner, who's even considering putting up a reward for further information. This morning, Greyhound New South Wales issued a statement on dogs.com saying it is premature to form a view on whether the property contains a mass greyhound gravesite. But within hours, that opinion changed in a statement to NBN News. The inspection carried out has concluded there was no mass grave at this site. The RSPCA is yet to make a determination on the site.
There's a few trainers out there that will still put their dogs down, and that's very few. The majority of people keep them as pets.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
On the old BHP site at Mayfield lies Stolthaven's fuel terminal. The company's plan to increase fuel imports from 500 million litres a year to just over double that has long struck a nerve with residents. Now it's been revealed the Department of Planning has recommended the expansion be approved. John Hayes from the Correct Planning and Consultation for Mayfield Group says its members fear a dangerous increase in the amount of traffic along Industrial Drive and Ingle Street.
Our concern there is traffic gridlock and safety. We've said all along that they should be putting a lot of their deliveries on the rail.
The Environment Protection Authority has also raised concerns over the possible emission of benzene, a toxic chemical. But the EPA today told NBN News after requesting additional monitoring, it's now satisfied that the controls proposed by Stolthaven will ensure air quality standards are maintained. Locals aren't convinced.
That can have a carcinogenic effect. That's close to the residents of Mayfield, Tighes Hill, Carrington, but it's also close to Mayfield East Public School.
Final approval is expected to be announced in the coming days. Emma Murphy, NBN News.
Inside the home of Tantrum Youth Arts is history few people know about. On the walls of the former St Philip's Presbyterian Church are the names of Novocastrians who fought and died in World War I, including the 3 Masson brothers who lost their lives within a week of each other. The plaques have inspired the company's new show.
And the idea that there were these stories kind of literally in the steps I took every day that I didn't know inspired me to think about the other stories that might be around a number of sites on Watt Street and look further into them.
Stories in Our Steps will take the audience on a walking tour of 6 sites along Watt Street, with performances at each to represent snapshots in time.
The pieces themselves will be really entertaining, contemporary, innovative, dramatic pieces.
The Flipside project is one of several organisations to collaborate with Tantrum on the show. Through dance, they'll bring to life the stories of local war heroes.
The courage and heroism they had is brilliant, so it's been a really amazing journey, I think, for the young artists engaged, as well as us as choreographers and directors.
The show opens on Friday night. Renee Feder, NBN News.
He didn't head to Boston last year as he celebrated the arrival of son Harry. Now preparing to race in the marathon as a dad for the first time, Kurt Fearnley can't help getting swept up in the emotion of a race that has become a sentimental favourite.
New York for me will always be the biggest, but Boston is just, you know, it's taken a greater meaning. You just want to be a part of it. You want to show that you're there with them.
Fearnley has never won in Boston, having finished second twice. He's hoping to improve on a disappointing result in the Ausday 10K in Sydney in January.
You try and put that one behind and you line up at Boston expecting or hoping that you can challenge for the win. I'm in good nick, but really this is the start of the season.
Following the marathon, Kurt will return to the place of his most gruelling triumph, the Kokoda track.
Flying back through from Boston straight into Port Moresby and then meeting a group up on a group that we've put together that's raised somewhere around 120,000 for a few different charities that I'm associated with.
Unlike 2009, he'll only crawl and push his modified chair over the final stages of the trail. And this time he's looking forward to taking in his surroundings.
I'll be at Isarava for Anzac Day. I've always wanted to go back to that point because I was so scared. That was my day too. I was so scared at the end of that day that I don't think I was able to really pay it the respect it deserved.
Hakan Khanli and Matthew Houle are two of the top players in the Hunters NPL competition. Next week, they'll lace up a different pair of boots to represent Australia at the Futsal World Cup.
The boys here today have been with us from under 12-year-olds, and credit to them, they have mastered the sport and now they are Australian representatives.
Late last month, the 14-man squad beat Northern New South Wales 7-2 in a friendly. In Belarus, it'll face a much tougher task. Like the Socceroos, our futsal side has been drawn in a World Cup group of death featuring Brazil, Uruguay and host nation Belarus. Vice-captain Houle isn't fazed, having faced two of those nations in 2012.
Played Brazil in the group stage in Colombia. We lost to them, but they've got a different squad now, so it'll be a different challenge. We played Uruguay in a friendly in Colombia. We had a draw with them.
His brother Andrew has enjoyed plenty of success in the A-League and with the Olyroos, but Matthew says there's no sibling rivalry.
Very supportive of each other, and he's doing really well at the Olyroos level, and it's good for our family to have both of us playing at the national level, and yeah, we both look to make our mum and dad really proud.
In the Hunter, just days after losing the election, Luke Foley promised the region a voice in his shadow cabinet.
Given the strength of support for Labor in the Hunter, my front bench will be well represented by Hunter MPs.
That promise has been kept. 2 Hunter MPs will join Mr Foley on the front bench, while 3 others have been made shadow parliamentary secretaries. Cessnock's Clayton Barr is the new shadow minister for Finance, Services and Property, while Lake Macquarie Mayor and Charlestown MP Jodie Harrison has 4 shadow portfolios to add to her growing list of responsibilities, trumping long-serving member Sonia Hornery as the new shadow minister for the Hunter.
I relish being busy. I've got a very supportive family and I've got staff behind me.
Ms Harrison says despite the added workload, she'll serve out her term as mayor.
When I decided to stand as member for Charlestown, I made it very clear that I didn't want to cause a by-election.
Amanda Douglas, NBN News.
Look, I think it's quite frankly unfair of me to be the local member for the Upper Hunter and retain the role as Mayor of the Upper Hunter Shire.
We will be included in future legislation and discussions, particularly with planning, particularly with finance, but it's something which we have worked for.
Around Australia, over 105,000 people experience homelessness every night. 44% of those are women, with many accompanied by young children, most under the age of 35.
That is very high, yes, young people. Unfortunately, I guess there are a lot of factors involved in that, but yes, it is a growing age group.
The St Vincent de Paul Society says the problem is becoming more prominent in the Hunter due to the lack of affordable housing.
We would be seeing about 100 clients at a time, but as well as that, we assist about 25,000 people in a year, just maybe with their rent or food or other household costs.
In June, high-profile businessmen and women will sleep in the elements to raise awareness of the issue, as well as much-needed funds to tackle it.
You or I can make a mistake. It doesn't take a lot, and we could be one of them. And I'd like to think that if you or I ever do it, somebody's there to pick me back up.
For Newcastle Knights CEO Matt Gidley, this will be his third year taking part.
Although we struggle to get to sleep in the cold under our cardboard, at least we're inside the confines of the stadium, which unfortunately a lot of people don't have that luxury.
Michael Kane, NBN News. Half a century of delivering academic outcomes of the highest standard.
It was a real honour for us and a real moment to look back and think about those 50 years, think about the remarkable graduates we have and think about their future.
This month, close to 5,000 students will graduate from the University of Newcastle. Vice-Chancellor Caroline McMillan believes the future of the institution has never looked brighter.
I think with our city development, our new space in the city, and we should see that development come out of the ground, and that will take us really into the heartland of the CBD for us to engage with business, with industry leaders, with the law fraternity, and also to see us really drive innovation.
Today, a moment to remember for these scholars graduating with a Bachelor of Construction Management.
After all the hard work we've put in over the last 4 years, it's just so rewarding to come to a day like this and, finally finish and enjoy that with our classmates.
It was also a big day for NBN's own Sam Lobb, who was awarded the Goomas Prize for the best film created in the final year of a Bachelor of Communication program. Michael Kane, NBN News.
Coming up from the south coast to come watch us, and Mum always travels to all the games, so they'll be really looking forward to seeing both of us play together. I know my sister on the CJ, she's on the Gold Coast, and she's really excited to watch the game as well because she can't get down there.
They're great to have around training. They're always positive, upbeat. I thought Corbin's had a great start to the year at front row. He's really putting his stamp on that position. And Tarek, I'm sure, if you asked him, he'd be disappointed that his first game was a loss for the Knights.
Having missed the finals last year, Broadmeadow added some new faces for 2015.
We've got Carl Bradbury, Dino Fajovic, Mickey Finlayson, who between the three of them got a lot of mobility.
There were fears Edgeworth would lose Luke Walker for the season with a torn ACL, but he's on the road to recovery.
I had an operation 2 weeks ago on a torn meniscus, and it's coming along pretty well. Back in the gym now, so just doing a bit of rehab and aiming for a second round.
The Blues believe they'll cope with the defection of Golden Boot Kane Goodchild to Hamilton, but there's still mixed emotions.
Yeah, well, he's my best friend, so it is a bit tough, but we had a couple of beers on Saturday and he bought the first 3, so we're all sweet now.
Goodchild adds to a younger-looking squad at Olympic.
Jamie Burns come in 22, Kane Goodchild 28. We get Simon Mooney back, who'll be a big bonus for us. He was out last year with a knee reconstruction.
Western also lost some key personnel, but picked up former Jet and Mariner Troy Hearfield.
He's just fine fitness at the moment, but once he gets 100% fit, I'm sure he's going to be one of the better players in the comp.
Defending champions Lambton have added former EPL star Michael Bridges, but he's still not 100% fit.
We're nurturing him through that. We want him to get fit, and we don't want to throw him into games too early. So we'll monitor his minutes over the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season and build him into it.
Former Scottish international Gary Kenneth has set his new club Adamstown some lofty goals.
Aim for the top, and then look, anything after that's the bonus.
It was the last chance for clubs to rub shoulders before the new season commences. After a 2014 to forget, Curry go into their opening round clash against Souths with a new-look side, which includes their prize signing from Maitland, hooker Terence Cucu. Getting off on the right foot is important.
If you get 2 points straight away and get a couple of games early in the season, you can set your season up.
South's captain coach Todd Hurrell is still coming to terms with the season-ending injury to star recruit Riley Brown, but measures have been put in place to fill the void.
Jared Rodimer will step into his place, and Jared got us to where we finished last year, so Jared will do the job for us.
At Carl Oval, Macquarie are away to Lakes United. The Scorpions last won the premiership in 1991, and this year the coach believes forward power will be the key, just like it was 24 years ago.
We've got a big pack of forwards, everyone knows that. You've got to go forward before you go wide, and the big fellas don't take a backward step.
The match of the round will be the replay of last season's decider, with defending premiers Western Suburbs taking on Cessnock. New Goannas coach Craig Miller is keen to see his side hit the ground running against his former club.
We've got so many new players and new faces, and we'll be just focusing on a pride in our own little performance and just getting our own measures and our new systems in place.
On Sunday, Maitland faced Central at St John Oval and welcomed back the return of coach Noel Dent, who previously led the Pickers to back-to-back titles in 2010 and 11.
He gets everyone together, pulls the whole group together, and the club will have a lot of camaraderie in that there this year, playing for each other.
Michael Kane, NBN News.
He was a rising star, taking an unbroken record of 10 for 67 in Newcastle's first grade in the late 50s. But for Hugh Marjoribanks, now 81, his biggest honour was being part of a team with Richie Benno.
I was lucky to make the state side, and he was captain and mentor, and he sort of took me under his wing and taught me everything. In my case, you looked up to him. He was an idol, and I was lucky to have played with him.
He remembers him as a genuine bloke and a thorough gentleman. Both leg spinners, Benno helped hone Hugh's skills, even visiting him in Newcastle.
Taught me how to bowl the flipper and the wrong un and all sorts of Googlies, and he just taught me a lot.
Former Australian cricketer Rick McCosker, who also calls the hunter home, knew Benno well and had great respect for him on and off the pitch.
Moved Australian cricket in particular and to a certain extent world cricket into a new era. I think he was just the way he led the team, the way he played his cricket, always very aggressive.
He says as the voice of summer and face of cricket, Benno is his generation's Bradman.
Spotlessly dressed, always magnificent, always looked well. And that was the way he played his cricket apparently, so you always got to look the part, and he did.
Overseeing the Hunter and Central Coast, Scott McDonald has experienced a rocky start to his new role. 3 days before being appointed Parliamentary Secretary for the area, he posted this tweet, saying it's a great shame the Hunter will not have a voice in government, referring to Labor's victory in the region, and he's standing by his comment.
It's a statement of fact. I hope to redress that in some way as Parliamentary Secretary, but it's unfortunate we don't have people that are going to be sitting around that table.
The Baird government has faced a backlash over the decision not to allocate a minister for the Hunter, the opposition claiming it's punishing the region.
Mr McDonald says having a parliamentary secretary rather than a minister is beneficial because he has less responsibilities, meaning he's able to dedicate his time solely to the Hunter.
When there was a minister, they were distracted by other portfolio responsibilities, police or whatever.
Despite a Supreme Court ruling that the government can't remove the rail tracks into Newcastle for now, Mr McDonald says work will continue, with the government confident the line will go, regardless of the challenge, as it's willing to consider using an Act of Parliament.
The court case will work its way through, but the government's been very clear about its plans. I think it's got the mandate to keep going what we're doing. We have a plan for Newcastle, revitalising Newcastle. It's not just about the railway, that's one small part of it. So yeah, I think we've got to get on with it.
He also hinted the Drayton South mine expansion could go ahead, despite concerns of horse breeders.
I think we've got a good possibility of making it work together.
Emma Murphy, NBN News.
Any surplus funds that we have over will go to legacy.
After 12 months living in his van, Ricky Weeks and his dog Minter have found a lifeline in our backyard. Not only does it offer a designated place to park his car, but it also provides some basic necessities and access to support workers.
Besides having the showers and the toilets and the kitchenette, you've got a bit of safety and stuff like that, whereas on the street you don't.
The program, run by Macquarie Care, has helped scores of people already this year. Coordinator Jen Wentman says typically those seeking help have been unable to access the rental market or find emergency accommodation.
They've just fallen on hard times, and what we do is we try to be the link between what's going on for them right now, but the potential they still have to have a great future if they've got someone to walk beside them.
But the future of the program is in doubt. Macquarie Care is appealing for help, with its major sponsor unable to continue funding the rent for its demountables after June.
We're looking for someone who can say, you know what, it's about $800 to $1,000 a month. Even if we could find 10 businesses or 12 that would say, you know what, I can give you $1,000 a year, and then we could keep it going because we'd be able just to pay for the rent on those buildings.
For more information on how to donate, visit our website. Renee Feder, NBN News.
Today's NHRU season launch was the chance for all clubs to engage off the field before they engage on it this weekend. Newly promoted Singleton Bulls are away to Nelson Bay and are looking forward to a return to the top flight.
We expect to play competitively, but we won't be easy beats.
Maitland host University at Marcellin Park, and the Blacks want to show off more than just its forward power.
People talk about the old black tractor, and that's certainly still going to be there. But I'd like to think we're a little bit broader across our range of skills this year.
The Hamilton Hawks are away to Lake Macquarie and will be keen to wipe away the memory of its early exit in 2014. In the match of the round, Wanderers take on the Waratahs. The defending premiers have lost last year's coach Todd Loudon to Super Rugby, and new mentor Viv Parsi will be keen to get the two Blues off to a flyer. And in the only match on Sunday, Merewether Carlton plays Southern Beaches at Townsend Oval. The Greens aren't worried about coming up against last year's runners-up.
We have one of the best back rows in the competition. We can hang on to ball and also turn over ball really well. So with that possession, we want to be able to penetrate as well.
Michael Kane, NBN News. He's the man they call Piddo, and this Sunday he'll reach a personal milestone, 200 games for Broadmeadow Magic. An enforcer who strikes fear into the minds of many attackers.
I've made a little bit of a mark that, I'm going to throw myself around and get involved a little bit.
After coming to the club as a 17-year-old, year after year, Josh Piddington has been the backbone of Magic's defence and has been a key member in many grand final triumphs. He says playing for the Magic has been just that.
It's just all those the background issues that other clubs might experience that these guys have taken out, and the thought process on a day of a game is just we know we have to turn up, we know where we get ready, we know where we get warmed up, and we know that everything's going to be on point, ready for us to roll.
Coach Robert Vigili knows just how important he is to the club.
It's a big honour for the club, and credit to Piddo. He's becoming an icon at the club at the moment. So, and he's still got another 100-odd games left in him.
The 28-year-old has worked hard on his fitness in the off-season while shedding his trademark Ned Kelly beard.
A little bit quicker without the beard?
Absolutely, and the 10 kilos that I no longer have on me from last year.
Broadmeadow take on Hamilton Olympic at Magic Park on Sunday. Michael Kane, NBN News.
Now I guess it comes back to everyone needs to contribute equally and have that whole team mentality to get some wins.